ladies and gentlemen. Nice to meet you today. I feel happy and privileged to have Malab Aneel with us today. Uh, let's say happy weekend. Malab, Mike is yours to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Malab. I'm a queer activist, visual artist, and a design student.
Mm-hmm,
I'm studying design currently in Milan, in Italy.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm Sudanese. That could have come at the beginning. I forgot about that. I thought it was assumed, but yeah.
Okay,
بس that's me.
okay, yeah, yeah. Malab Sudani يا شباب.
Yes. Hi.
Okay. So, guys, as I promised you, I will answer your question how we could learn a new language in episode with who are expert in this area. And here we go with Malab and Neil. We will answering your question. But let me know, Malab, how many language have you got?
Well, it depends what you mean. I have a very interesting story with languages because
Mm-hmm,
um so I have two
mm-hmm,
on lock اللي هم
mm-hmm,
عربي انجليزي those ones
mm-hmm.
قاعدين
Okay. Mm-hmm.
um but I have three that kind of come and go.
Okay.
So it's a soft five.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Five language.
It's a very soft five. You could say two languages and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes في ثلاثة.
Okay.
I'll explain more.
Okay. So, always we start our conversation with define the concept. So, what does language mean exactly, madam?
Well,
Mm-hmm,
we could talk about, I could say like the actual definition of a language, but
mm-hmm,
um it's just whatever sounds come out of your mouth and then somehow communicate a point to the
mm-hmm,
receiver.
mm-hmm,
Yes, that kind of definition, I mean, that would be the basic definition of language, but that kind of
mm-hmm,
covers more than what you would consider a language.
mm-hmm,
But yeah, I think all noise are language. It's
mm-hmm.
just a medium to communicate a point.
Okay, okay. So that is mean we need to language to express our feelings, thoughts, and ideas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious about the difference between language and accent.
Well, I would say that difference is very objective, honestly, because you can see, for example, الفرق ما بين الdialects بالعربي,
Mm-hmm.
and you could say that these are different languages,
Okay.
uh, which I would say they're kind of the same difference ما بين Latin languages, let's say, this is a comparison I always make, is that the difference
Mm-hmm.
between the Arabic in Oman,
Mm-hmm.
مثلا, which is where I grew up, that's why it was the
Okay.
example, Oman, Sudan, and I don't know, Syria, is the same
Mm-hmm.
difference between Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian.
Yeah.
They're actually different languages, so it's purely it's a very
Mm-hmm.
fluid definition.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can be, you could kind of decide, but
Mm-hmm.
if you want to go for the more structured, let's say, definition, it would be that the difference is that a language has this specific set of rules, and an accent would only slightly deviate from the rules, but not completely create a new one. But then it really depends on what you think
Mm-hmm.
is a slight way
Mm-hmm.
of changing from the rules. So what to someone might be a different, just a different accent or a different dialect, to somebody else could be considered just a whole different language.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So language have an element, and we take them to put our strategy of learning language. So how we could strategy to learn a new language?
Well, the best way to learn a language, I think, is
Mm-hmm.
just to get the bare minimum words that you use on a
Mm-hmm.
daily basis, and then just start using it.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously media helps,
Mm-hmm.
music and shows and films,
Highly
etc., etc.
recommended music.
Yes, music is the best because
Yeah.
you can memorize a song
Mm-hmm.
and then فجأة يعني هتلقى إنه
Yeah.
أنت فاهم الأغنية كلها, and
Absolutely.
then you're kind of, then you start using things from like lines from that song
Mm-hmm.
in your daily life, and then you keep going, and then you listen to
Absolutely.
another song and you hear something else and you go on. So yeah, music
Yeah.
is a very good because
Yeah.
you're not
Highly
gonna sit there
recommended.
and recommend and memorize a script, but you will sit
Mm-hmm.
there and memorize some
Mm-hmm.
lyrics. So,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, but I think the best way to learn a language is just media and just use it,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of how little information you have. And yani, I'm saying this, but I'm also saying it to myself because um, I also kind of, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not fully capable of a language, then I get somewhat ashamed of using it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is odd because I mean you kind of have to use it
Mm-hmm.
to get the grasp of it at some
Mm-hmm.
point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying it out loud, but I'm also saying it back to myself.
Okay.
Just speak.
Okay. Malab, the reason of why I asked you the question of difference between the language and accent. So, some of my friends asked me about what they should learn: American language, American accent, or British accent.
I
Yeah.
mean that I think
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. If
Yeah.
one sounds good to you and
Hmm.
like you just like the way it sounds, go for it. If learning
Hmm.
the British way of like of speaking English,
Hmm.
then if learning that makes you feel fancy, then go for it. I don't think there's
Okay.
or if learning the American one makes you feel cooler, then also go for it.
Okay.
But I don't think there's no hierarchy. Let's say it's just like I said in the
Hmm.
beginning. It's just a way of communicating
Hmm.
a point from one to another.
Hmm.
So I have no respect for organized language. Do whatever you want. I think like language is a
Hmm.
fluid thing. It's not something that you
Hmm.
it's not a mold that's just stuck and it's
Absolutely.
done. It's
Hmm.
something that evolves, it changes, it you
Yeah.
can take a little bit of both, تاخد من هنا تاخد من هنا, make
Hmm.
up your own language and
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
So do both. If you want,
Yeah.
do both.
Yeah.
And then make a
Absolutely.
new one.
You can say water, or you can say also water.
Yes.
Okay. So as you said, Malab, for who are love music or listening to to conversations, as good listener, I highly recommended this way because I got 60% of my French from listening to music and conversations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. So, Malab, having more than language is a privilege. So, what's the benefits of learning a new language?
Ooh.
Hmm.
I have a very, I mean, I want to start with one that is just
Hmm.
I think gets looked over, and it's a very important
Hmm.
benefit you get from learning a new language, is that مرات بيكون في أغاني that gets really famous, وبيكون ما عندك أدنى فكرة in what language is it,
Hmm.
but you just listen to it and you kind of make up your own words. And the
Hmm.
best benefit about learning new languages is ممكن فجأة الغنية دي يعني زول يشغلها ولا حاجة المهم تسمعها فجأة كده, and you
Hmm.
all of a sudden realize that you understand what they're saying, and it is the most يعني بتحس نفسك كده دخلت الماتريكس. It's like wait, what,
Hmm.
these are actual words, أنا فاهمة
Hmm.
الحاصل, what is going on.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like this happened with me, and I don't know if you know the song اسمه شنو بتاعت the ketchup song
Hmm.
بتاعت now I don't remember the lyrics anymore, but
Me too.
it had like
I see.
that one. I
Okay.
didn't. I had no idea what song what language it was in ولا أي
Hmm.
حاجة. And then I learned
Hmm.
Spanish and I listened to it randomly and it came up
I
at one
see.
point. my mind was blown. أنا بقيت فاهمة. I was like, wait,
Okay.
I know what they're saying. So this is a very important benefit of
Okay.
learning a new language.
Mhm.
The other
Mhm.
benefits are also like you get
Mhm.
you get access to new stuff. So you
Mhm.
get access to meeting new people,
Yeah.
knowing more about new cultures, different cultures,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's like it opens a whole realm of
Yeah.
opportunities, let's say, because you just like
Yeah.
like just like going back to the definition of
Mhm.
a language of just something that communicates a point. It's like now you have a new medium, a new way of communicating a point, and a new
Mhm.
way of receiving different things, different information, different whatever. So that just opens up like so many possibilities.
Mhm.
But most importantly, هتفهم أغاني ما كنت عارف هي أصلا بيعت لغة before,
Mhm.
and that is the main one.
Okay. So, Malab, let's talk about the element of language. So, let's start with writing. What people should do to improve their writing.
I think
Mhm.
something that I used to do, for example, with when I was starting to learn Italian,
Mhm.
is I would listen to songs and then or podcasts or anything that's something I could just listen to and is not visual also,
Mhm.
and try to write some things out.
I see.
Um, and see like if I and then check the lyrics or check
Mhm.
whatever they were saying and see if I got it right. That was something
Mhm.
that I did to kind of improve my writing. But
Mhm.
that I think it's way simpler if we're talking
Mhm.
about languages like Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian, which are my other three that I kind of know but not really. It's a very weird dynamic, because they you write everything the way it sounds, so it's not يعني ما في حاجة لازم تخمن إنه like or guess
I
a
see.
rule or figure it out or. But I think with English it's a bit different لأنه it's a very weird language that just
Mhm.
has no law.
Okay. Okay.
So I think when it comes to English, the best way to improve your writing is just to read. So just be exposed to it, just read more,
Mhm.
and by read I'm not saying um, like you necessarily need to read books like or elongated articles or whatever. You could just read tweets in English.
Mhm.
Don't scroll past them. Well,
Mhm.
read billboards, just read. لأنه
Okay.
English with a lot of it, in when it comes to writing, it doesn't necessarily, some things just don't make sense,
Mhm.
so it's easier
Mhm.
to just be exposed to it and then you just kind of start guessing. Now I think it's
Okay.
written that way, and most of the time you're right, and if it's not right in the American English, it might be right in
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
British English, so you have kind of a trial and error.
Okay. So, Melab, do you journal your day regularly? I'm curious about
Do
that.
I journal?
Yeah.
I don't think I tried many
Mhm.
times.
Mhm.
Um, it never worked. I don't have enough attention. Like I don't have the enough attention span to sit down in one place and write what happened or like write about my day or anything. I
Mhm.
usually start with a sentence. I have so many journals that have في كل صفحة في 3 جمل,
Mhm.
and then I got bored.
Okay.
So
Okay.
no.
So, what
So
I mean, do you think this will be effective way to learn a language?
yes, definitely. Well, actually, now that I think about it,
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, obviously you get to use it, and it's يعني in an environment where you don't feel ashamed مثلا انه قلت
Mm-hmm.
حاجة غلط ولا ما عارفة, because you're just talking to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I think about it, I kind of do the same thing, but not with writing anything. I talk to my cat in Italian.
Okay.
because and that kind of feels like I'm journaling, for example,
Mhm.
because I talk about my day or whatever.
Okay.
Or sometimes I just communicate with them in Italian,
Mhm.
because it's the same thing. It's
Mhm.
for the same purpose of the fact that you don't feel
Mhm.
um judged or in any way. مع إنه هو أصلا most of the time no one's judging you, no one cares. People are,
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
learning a language of someone of somebody else, and somebody else is fluent in it, or it's their first language, they'll
yeah. Mhm.
probably just think it's cool that you're learning it. No
Mhm.
one's gonna be judging you. But
Yeah.
you still feel like that sometimes, إنه لا الحاجة دي غلط، لا هو بيقولوها كده ولا كده. And then by the time يعني you're too worried thinking about which way to say it, and then you just give up. You like
Mhm.
just go for it. But
Mhm.
that is easier said than done, and that's why things like journaling and or talking to your pet
Mhm.
are good, because it's like a judgment-free environment, and you can both speak and write
Mhm.
and improve your skills in a language in so many ways in a
Okay.
space where you feel comfortable.
Mhm. Okay. So let's talk about talking. How could I improve my talking? And
How to, well, like I said, talk to your pets.
Mhm.
They are good listeners sometimes.
Mhm.
Sometimes they will leave the room mid sentence very rudely. بس ما
Okay.
مشكلة.
حواصل.
um, but yeah, I would say the one other thing that,
Mhm.
again, this is something that I'm saying out loud, but I'm also saying back to myself, is just يا هو الكلام اللي لسه قلته إنه
Mhm.
don't feel ashamed, because it's okay to speak a language.
Focus with
Exactly.
yeah.
Just talk to other people, and it's okay لو your language اسمه شنو يعني, if it's a bit,
Not
it's not
strong enough. Yeah.
polished, it's not هناي ولا, you have to keep switching back and forth and asking. Like the one
Mhm.
sentence I use the most
Mhm.
in Italian is, like, in between every word and another, I always say, like, I don't know how you say this word, and then I say it in English, and then I continue talking in Italian, and then 2 words later I say it again. I don't know how you say this word, I say it in
Yeah.
English, and then, so it's okay to
Okay.
switch back and forth and just talk to people
Mhm.
with what whatever language you have, whatever
Mhm.
vocabulary you have available to you, just use it, even
Mhm.
if you don't think it's much, well, if you
Mhm.
think it's not hinai, just
Mhm.
talk. just
Mhm.
just find somebody you feel comfortable with, or even better, if you're someone like me who
Mhm.
feels a bit restrained whenever they don't do
Mhm.
anything perfectly, and
Mhm.
doesn't like to be hinai,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
in the you feel awkward in the learning phase and you just want to skip over to just being fluent, then talk to strangers that you will never meet again, because that way
Mhm.
it takes off a lot of the pressure. So talk to a stranger in the language that you're learning, if you know somehow that they speak it.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
just let go of
So,
the shame.
mhm, mhm. So, Malab, what do you think the problem of people who say we have a lot of words, but we can't speak clear enough?
I think that one is just it's just you need more
Practicing.
conversation, but not more conversation as in
Mhm.
uh, to say that that's the way to get more vocabulary or get more words. It
Mhm.
is, but I think
Mhm.
most of the time, if you're saying that, you're just not used to
Mhm.
um, you're not used to putting those words in a way that serves you, let's say. You
Mhm.
don't know how to phrase things or how to put things together, but you actually have all the components there. So you just
Mhm.
need to start talking, and
Mhm.
then the same thing. You can do the same thing I do, is like ما
Mhm.
بين كل كلمة والتانية be like, I don't know how to say this. How
Okay.
أنا
Okay.
قصدي الكلمة دي.
Mhm.
And then move on. And then I think that's it. You just need to talk, because
Mhm.
you already have the whatever you need. You just need to put it in practice. and it might seem abstract لأنه in your brain
Mhm.
بيكون كل كلمة قاعدة في حتة
Mhm.
ويعني الحاجات مفرتقة.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
then once you start speaking and starting to actually use it, then it comes together. Because if you're trying to put it together in your brain before
Mhm.
you put it out, then
Mhm.
that might seem complicated. No, it's still abstract. It's still, you don't
Yeah,
have it.
absolutely.
It's not a tangible thing.
Mm.
So just speak, use it, use it. That's how,
Okay.
like, treat
Mhm.
language as visual art, let's say.
I
You
see.
can sit there and think about a painting or a drawing, but
Mhm. Mhm.
it's never gonna look right
Mhm.
until it's on paper or on whatever. It's until it's like out.
Mhm. Okay.
So in your head, it's always abstract, which makes it scary. And just use it. Use whatever you have, and
Mhm.
whatever you don't know how to say, just
Mhm.
say, "I don't know how to say it."
Mhm. Okay. So let's talk about reading. How can I improve my reading?
With breathing, I am well.
Mhm.
Let's see. I currently have been living here for maybe 3 years. مقطع, like
Mhm.
didn't stay here for 3 years direct, like all in one go.
Mhm.
And I only own two books in Italian, and one of them is for is for class. So I'm
Mhm.
not one that reads a lot. Um, but the one thing that I do read, I am on Twitter constantly.
Okay.
So I started following some people here, which is not very commonly used. Twitter, not a lot of people are on it, but I found some people and some accounts here and there that just those little things kind of help. But I
Mhm.
would say the best little thing that helps with reading is changing the language on my phone.
Mhm.
Like, that's a good thing because you kind of have to practice every day. يعني بتكون أصلا عارف حافظ الحاجات في التليفون قاعدة وين. So
Yeah.
you
Mm.
already know what it is. You already know what it looks like. You have the visual of it.
Mm.
But that's a really good way of improving your reading, is just having your phone in whatever language you're learning. لأنه you'll get to you
Mm.
you have a visual to correlate with the words, and you have
Okay.
to use it on a daily
Mhm.
basis, even if passively. يعني ممكن تكون
Mhm.
حتى ما منتبه,
Mhm.
لكن you're on the phone. It's just because muscle memory, you know what you're doing, you know where you're going, but you're
Mhm.
still passing through the words and you see it written, and then after a while you start using
Mhm.
them in your head. So I would say changing the language on your phone really helps with
Mm.
improving your reading. It really helps me.
Mm. Okay. So Malab, in listening, me and Malab guys highly recommended listening to music.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Anything Malab to add in listening?
Let's see. It's okay to be creepy if you're if you're learning a new language. Yeah, and what I mean by that is, if you know people who speak that language,
Mhm.
and you just want to have a training session, what I would do is, if you're not comfortable speaking yet, let's say you're still in the beginning of learning the language, or you're still not comfortable with using it, I already said, no, just go for it and talk. But
Mhm.
still, a good thing to do, and this is something that I do in university, is that just ask the people to speak to you in that
Mhm.
language, and
Mhm.
you can respond in the language that you're comfortable in.
Okay.
And that will kind of, not kind of, that will improve, like,
Mhm.
being able to hear and perceive things as they're being said, and not repeated slowly and or written or something.
Mhm.
So yeah, ask people to speak to you in that language. If
Mhm.
you hear if you know somebody also that speaks in that language, multiple people, ask them to have a conversation in that
Mhm.
language and just listen. It's
Mhm.
creepy, sounds creepy,
Yeah.
but it's useful. So it's okay to be creepy when you're learning a language to a
Mhm.
certain extent. So yeah.
Okay.
And but yeah, music shows also work for that, podcasts
Mhm.
also work for that, but I would mostly recommend things that يعني, yes,
Mhm.
music podcasts audio, whatever audible media is a good way to improve your listening. But
Mhm.
I would highly recommend more things that also have a visual aspect of it or connect something else. So
Mhm.
that way you have something to correlate it to. Because
Mhm.
if you're listening to, let's say, a podcast in a language that you don't fully understand, then you could miss a lot of things. But if you're watching a show in it, you're listening
Mhm.
to it and you're watching it also, that gives you way more
Okay.
um, of an opportunity to like absorb all the information.
Mhm. Malab.
Yes, I am here.
Yeah. Okay. خلصت
I
كلامك
thought you
يعني.
were checking the questions. I was like, okay, we wait.
Okay. Okay. So let. Those points, Malab, put us on a big thing in our journey to learning a new language. So how to stay motivated? How to
How
stay
to stay
motivated? Yeah.
motivated? Well, I mean, what I do,
Mm-hmm.
I would say a good thing is just to remember why you wanted to learn it in the first place. Also, learning languages and speaking multiple languages is pretty cool. So you could just, that could be your motivation. It's like, I'm going to be so much cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty good motivation. It helps me. But one thing that really helps me, and I think it's an interesting technique to have,
Mm-hmm.
is sometimes when I get bored or frustrated that I've been
Mm-hmm.
learning a language for so long and I'm not able to get the grasp of it,
Mm-hmm.
um, what I do is I just go on a map. I
Mm-hmm.
find a map and I highlight all the countries where I'll be able to like live or express myself or be able to communicate,
Oh,
go through my
okay.
day normally without having any trouble, and
Mm-hmm.
that really helps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, okay, no, this is a lot of countries and I'm
Mm-hmm.
this is no, this is useful, this is
Mm-hmm.
useful. And that's a good way to stay motivated, is if you, because this I keep going back to visual cues with every
Mm-hmm.
with every advice about the different types of different aspects of learning a language, because that's, for me, that's something that really helps.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing where you can communicate if you speak that language, it's a very satisfying thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a
Okay.
lot of times when I reach a point I'm like خلاص
Mm-hmm.
اللغة دي دخلت بس ما دايرة وانا
Yeah.
ذاتي ما دايرة خلاص. But then I go and I do this. I'm like, no, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, no, I this will give me some nice opportunities. I can even if I'll never go to these places in my life, but
Yeah.
it's just nice to know that if for some reason I end up there, I can go throughout my day normally and I can go and like get something from the cafe without having a problem, and it's
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay, guys. So as Malab said, let's what would make you motivated to learn this language before run on the journey of learning this language?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So Malab, a lot of people facing a problem when they are learning two or more than language in the same time. So how could they handle this process?
I That is a question I would also ask
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I've had trouble with that too.
Okay.
But what I would say is it really depends on which two languages you're learning. If you're learning two languages that are similar to each
Mhm.
other, that could be confusing, like more confusing than if you're learning languages that have nothing to do with each other. Um, the something that my friends have said to me, for example, is that they would associate different
Mhm.
places
Mhm.
and different times with that language. So
Okay.
I'm at home, I learn this language.
Mhm.
When I go to, I don't know, university and I have some free time, I learn this language.
Mhm.
Monday, Wednesday, and
Mhm.
Friday, I'm learning this language. Tuesday, I don't know, whatever other days. I forgot the days of the week.
Okay.
I learned the other one. So some people do that. Um, I have been told it helps.
Okay.
So correlating different places, different times with the languages, so you kind of have them separated. If mixing them is something that confuses you, but
Mhm.
also mix them. Like just mix the languages. Like if everything comes out at once, then say a sentence that has multiple languages in it. I do that all the time. Um, but yeah, but if that's something that you're struggling with and you would like to separate them, then yeah, correlate them with different spaces, different
Mhm.
times,
Mhm.
different people, different scenarios, something like that. And the more unrelated the two languages are, the easier it would be,
Mhm.
because I think this is a good place to tell my story with languages.
Okay.
Uh, so this is a bit of not such a long story, but
Mhm.
it's an interesting story.
We are so
I think.
excited to hear. Mhm. Mhm.
So I learned Spanish. That was my first new language after English and Arabic, because
Mhm.
like Arabic is my first language. English, I don't know exactly when I learned it. I don't remember,
Mhm.
but it just came about at some point.
Mhm.
So this was the first language I learned while يعني
Mhm.
أنا واعية إنه أنا قاعدة بتعلم في لغة.
I think.
Like it's not just something I started speaking.
Mhm.
Um, which apparently was a thing that, well, it's a thing that most kids do, but
Mhm.
I have some stories like I used to speak this language, and people
Mhm.
tell me, "Oh, you used to speak this language,"
Mhm.
because I grew up in Oman, and there's a bunch of languages spoken there, like Blushi, and my best friend's family used to speak it. So apparently, I picked up the language at one point, and I was speaking Blushi.
Mhm.
I have no memory of this. I've just been told this story.
Okay.
But so this was the first language that I learned while I'm conscious of the fact that I'm learning a language.
Mhm.
And I was 16 at the time. I learned it because I used to be a football fan at the time. My favorite team was Real Madrid, and I just decided that I want to learn Spanish because I want to go to Spain and I want to watch a game there,
Okay.
and I just want to be able to speak the language. And that's how it
Mhm.
started.
Yeah. Yeah.
And within a couple of months, with both like online, Duolingo, some I had at one point, maybe for a month, I went to an actual course. That didn't last for long though. I continued to do it on my own. And I was never fluent, but
Mhm.
I could communicate, I could have a conversation, I could speak pretty well. And that was also the time I started discovering that all the songs that I've been listening to actually have a meaning,
Mhm.
and they're not just so
Mhm.
that was a huge discovery, that oh, this song is in Spanish. Oh, this song is in
Yeah.
Spanish too. And it was like, whoa, what is this? It was
Okay.
amazing. And then I went to my, like, fast forward a couple of years, I
Mhm.
went to my first year of university, 2016.
Mhm.
Um, I was in India, but most of my friends used to be like Portuguese
Mhm.
speakers. So
Mhm.
from different places around the world. So
Mhm.
Brazilian, from Angola, from Cape Verde, etc.,
I
etc.
see.
None of them were from Portugal. They were all just from the colonized
Mhm.
places by Portugal. So they all spoke Portuguese as a first language. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because it was so similar to Spanish, I never actually learned it. It's just that
Mhm.
I was around them all the time for an entire, not an entire year, but entire school year, so nine
Mhm.
months. Um, I just kind of picked it up because
Okay.
they were so similar that at the end I was kind of speaking to them. But also
Mhm.
the same thing with Spanish is that I was never fluent, but I
Mhm.
can understand everything they're saying and I can have a conversation. I can talk back, even though maybe I wasn't saying everything correctly, but I would just I'd be able to get throughout my day speaking Portuguese with my friends. And then I moved to Italy,
Mhm.
and needed to, not wanted to, actually, I needed to learn Italian because it my course is in Italian. My university course is given in Italian. A lot of my professors don't even speak English,
Mhm.
so I had to learn it. And I was like, okay, I already have
Mm-hmm.
experience with two languages that are very similar, and it was really quick for me to learn both of them. So I think I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be totally fine. And
Yeah,
then I was never
you are
actually
very
able
right.
to. Yeah, it was. I thought I had all the tools. I was like, this is
Mhm.
perfect. We got it.
Yeah.
Um, but then I started learning Italian, and for some reason the Italian just would not stick.
Mm-hmm.
And الثلاثة لغات كلهم, all the three languages just kind of got mixed up in my head because they're so
Mm-hmm.
similar.
Okay.
And that's why now I say I only speak two languages, but there's another three that I kind of speak, but not really. Because every time I try to speak one of the three languages, all three كده بيتلموا مع بعض and they create
Mhm.
something new.
Okay.
And I say like one word from each language, and sometimes some people don't understand me because they only speak one and not the other, or
Mhm.
it's always a mess. And 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 now there's also this very weird thing where if you're
Mhm.
speaking to me in one of these three languages,
Mhm.
I can understand what you're saying. But if we're in a context where I don't know, I don't before that already know which language you would be speaking, like I don't
Mhm.
already have an assumption of which language you're speaking, I
Mhm.
wouldn't know which language it is. I wouldn't know if it's
Mhm.
Spanish, Portuguese, or Italian, but I can tell you what you're saying. I can
Okay.
translate it to you, but I have no idea which one of the three it
I
is.
see. Okay.
So yeah, learning two languages that are similar might be I mean it depends. For some people it's really easy, but for me, two, I was good. When I added the third one that was too similar, it
Mhm.
all got mixed up.
Okay. Okay. So
And that is my very messed up story with language, and why I say I have
interesting.
two, but kind of five. It depends.
Okay.
Depends.
Interesting journey, Malab. Okay.
Exactly.
So in our planning, Malab, for everything, we should care of pitfalls to avoid them. So what's the pitfalls in learning a new language?
The same reason of feeling ashamed. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the one thing that kind of stops you and gets you stuck in one place, is
Okay.
just being ashamed because
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel confident enough in using it. So مثلا, like you said, that some people say they have a lot of words but they don't know how to use them, and you just need
Mm-hmm.
to use them. You don't need to know how when
Thank you
you're
so
just
much.
starting. So like you don't need to know how to use them if you just you you
Mm-hmm.
you have them. Like start using them. You don't need to know how. You're gonna learn how as you're using them. And then it's for the same thing. You get stuck because you're not speaking, and you're not speaking because you don't feel ready, or you don't feel like you're making sense yet. But you don't have to make sense from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. It's okay. Just say whatever you have, and then you'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the one thing that gets people stuck, is I mean, at least for me, is this
Mm-hmm.
idea of you have to be immediately fluent, which
Mm-hmm.
is not a thing. Because like here, for example, a lot of people don't speak English, or speak broken English, and they're totally fine with using it because they're
Yeah.
used to having to speak languages that they're not perfect at. So
Mm-hmm.
like they know their English isn't great, but they still
Mm-hmm.
use it, and it's fine. And I think that's something we should all adopt. It's just like you don't
Absolutely.
have to know, just do it. It's
Yeah.
gonna be you're gonna mess up a couple of times, maybe a lot of times. Just mess
Mm-hmm.
up. You need to, and then you'll figure it out. Either you're gonna learn the language, or you're gonna create your own language. I would say
Mm-hmm.
one is way more impressive than the other.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Malab, why I'm learning this language should we ask ourselves this question in the beginning of our journey? Because as you know, any language has a level. So answering this question will show us what the level we want to achieve in this language, right?
I think it's
Mm-hmm.
not such a. I'm a very strong believer in doing things for no reason. So
Mm-hmm.
asking yourself why you're learning a language can help you set your goals when you're first starting. You
Mm-hmm.
know, okay, I'm learning it for, I don't know, for this project that I have to do for school, or for uh, a movie that I like that I want to watch and actually understand without needing subtitles. And then
Mhm.
you kind of figure out which level you want to be in, or how much effort to put into it. Or, but I also think
Mhm.
learning a language is just it's cool to have the ability to talk to more people. So that's also a reason to get you to like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. But also doing things for no reason is super cool.
Mhm.
Just do things for absolutely no reason. That's what I like.
Mhm.
Just let it be nonsense. I think
Okay. Mhm.
having it be nonsense is a great motivator, because like I'm not doing this for anything. I just why not?
Mhm.
And that's a good reason. But yeah, I think it is also helpful if you are learning it for a specific thing, then to keep that thing in mind would be a strong motivation also to continue.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
if you don't have a specific reason you want to learn a language, I mean, it
Mhm.
sounds nice, is a very
Mhm.
good motivation. It sounds, I don't know, just
Mhm.
I just want to, and it's the most random
Mhm.
language, and people say like, oh, you're never gonna use it, like, oh yeah, but I just want to is a very
Mhm.
good reason as well.
Mhm.
So it's good to have your reasons in order to keep you motivated, but it's
Absolutely.
also important to
Mhm.
not take the reasons so like there's no criteria for the reasons. I think it's
Mhm.
something you need to keep in mind, is there's no criteria for like this reason is not a good enough reason to there is no such thing. It's just if you want to do it, and if your only reason is just
Mhm.
because, then that's a very good motivation. So keep
Mhm.
your goals in mind, but also
Mhm.
don't gatekeep the goals.
Okay.
Everything can be a goal.
Before we over our conversation, thank you so much, Mela, for your priceless time. Mike is yours again to say goodbye and your advice.
Well, thank you first of
Mhm.
all. It was this is fun. I like talking about random things that I didn't. I don't know. I just enjoy talking sometimes. So this was very fun. Thank you for asking me about this.
You
But
are welcome.
also, um, like when you told me about it, and you were
Mhm.
like, you were telling me that we're going to be talking about language learning, and you like to talk with experts of whatever topic you're talking about. And I had to make it very clear that I am not an expert. I actually tried to learn 3 languages.
You are.
Sure.
Malab, you are. You are.
Yes. I'm not a language learning. Well, I guess I am a language learning expert, depending on what
Yeah.
you expect the outcome to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. I really hope that I help somebody learn
Mhm.
on a journey to learning a language. And if you're learning a new language, and you're looking for music for it, ask me.
Okay.
Maybe I have some, because I listen to random music. I
Mhm.
mostly listen to Arabic music, but I listen to random music from everywhere. So
Okay.
I might have a song that can lead you to more. So if you're
Mhm.
looking for songs, that's me.
Well, will do, madam. So, also, guys, I trust in your passion in learning a new language. I hope this was helpful for you, and stay close. We have a lot of interesting topics for you. Thank you so much, and goodbye, guys. And
Bye.